Hey guys, hopefully you do not actually even have to watch this. But if you are watching it, then one of my boys is out for the day and sick, and I had to go pick him up. So I am going to go ahead and read chapter 7. You can follow along on here. You can listen. You can have the board up. Just make sure that you guys are listening to chapters 6 and 7 today. So, chapter 7 starts with scrambling for answers. It sounded simple once I checked the definition in the dictionary. Take a word, use all the same letters to make another word, and that's an anagram, like slow and owls. Okay, I want to take a second here, guys. Slow, S-L-O-W, has all of the same letters as owls, S-L-O-W. Or teach and cheat. Teach, T-E-A-C-H. Cheat has all of those same letters, T-E-A-C-H. Some words had a bunch of anagrams. React, trace, crate, and cater were all anagrams of each other, and it could be done with more than one word. New York could be anagrammed into Warnke. But how, I wondered as I walked out of the library, was I supposed to put an anagram in the bag? I stared at the bag, trying to figure out how it worked. What in the world are you doing? I looked up when I heard Benedict's voice and jammed the bag into my pocket. I just have an errand to run, I said. I'll catch up with you later. I'll sketch up with Sue later. No, I'll scratch pup with who? Forget about it. Forget about it. The more I talked, the worse it seemed to get. Benedict groaned and shook his head. You won't get rid of me just by making stinky jokes. If I can survive my Uncle Horace, I can handle anything. Besides, I know what's going on. Okay, this, again, you guys, is proof of a character trait that we talked about for Benedict yesterday, and he is so loyal. He's such a good friend. He just wants to help. He wants to be by Logan's side as he's going through this. You do? I felt a flash of guilt, like when Mom caught me trying to hide the vase I broke. Benedict nodded. You're looking for words again, right? Anagrams, I admitted, feeling relieved that he didn't know more than that, and I explained what they were. Well, what do you need them for? Same project. I started to walk down the street. Look, I'm in school with you all day. I've never heard of any project like this. And he stepped in front of me. Not for school, I said, stepping around him. It was rough trying to keep all my answers short. Want help? He asked, stepping back in front of me. I was going to work on my report, but this would be more fun. No thanks, I said. It would have been great, but the professor had warned me not to get any more help. Some friend you are, Benedict said, and he turned away and stomped up the library steps. Oh, wait, I called. He just kept walking. This would not leave a friend feeling very great. Benedict just wants to help. He wants to, be with his friend, and his friend is basically just giving him the cold shoulder. So, not a great back and forth between Logan and Benedict here. Great. Now he was mad at me. But there was nothing I could do about it right now. I had to find 7 anagrams. I started thinking up all the short words I could and seeing if they had any anagrams. Place? No. Anagrams? No anagrams I could find. Table? Well, there's bleat, table, bleat, T-A-B-L-E, T-A-B-L-E. That's what they call the sound a lamb or a kid makes. I knew that because my grandpa had a farm with sheep and goats. But I didn't think there was any such thing as a table bleat or a bleat table. I kept thinking. Scale laces, west stew, lemon melon, Rat art. Rat art? That could be a picture of a rat. I just hoped it didn't mean a picture that a rat drew. Ooh, I never have a chance of finding something like that. But where could I even find a picture of a rat? Kaylee liked to draw. She loved animals. I ran home and I went up to her room and I asked her if she had any drawings of rats. That's very weird. Kaylee nodded. Yep, I love to draw them. They're so cute. After digging around a minute, she pulled out a nice picture of a white rat eating a hunk of Swiss cheese. You are so talented. Can I borrow the rat? I asked. Sure, you can have it. And she handed me the picture and ran off. I pulled the bag out of my pocket. As I started to put the picture near the opening at the top, I felt a tugging, like the bag was a giant magnet, and the drawing was a paperclip. I let go of the drawing and swoosh, it got sucked inside the bag. 1 down, 6 to go. I had a great idea. I went downstairs and dug through the box of games in the living room. We had one game called Scrabble that used wooden tiles with letters on them. Mom and Dad played it all the time. I started pushing the tiles around, looking for anagrams. Hey, tile and light were anagrams. I picked up one of the tiles and it didn't weigh much. I tried to put it in the bag, but it wouldn't go. Duh, I said as I realized my mistake. I'd done the same thing last year on my spelling test. No matter what it might say on food boxes and menus, the word wasn't spelled L-I-T-E. It was L-I-G-H-T. But I kept playing around with the letters and came up with a bunch of ideas. Whenever I got one, I wrote it down on a piece of paper. Speaking of which, peace didn't have any anagrams that I could find. Neither did paper. I figured I'd never find any of the things on my list, like a rock cork, since that didn't make much sense. Neither did door odor, shoe hose, or glass legs. I figured a taco coat would be hilarious, but I knew there wasn't any chance I'd find one. And if I tried to make one, I was sure I'd mess up the whole kitchen. But I wrote down every single anagram I thought of, just in case. A couple of times I got so close to good ones it drove me crazy, like with apple. You can use most of the letters to spell peel. And I realized I had 2 problems. I had a letter left over, and I'd spelled the wrong kind of peel. After I had a long list, I ran around looking for things that would fit the ideas. My quest took me from the basement to the attic. There's a box of old dishes in the basement, and I remembered we used them when I was little. But Dad kept complaining that they were too ugly to eat off of, so Mom put them away. I hoped I remembered right. I searched around and found the box. Yep, I was in luck. And yuck. I had to agree with Dad about them being ugly. The plates were decorated with roses. Lots of roses. Petal plate, I thought. Flowers were made of petals. I picked up the saucer and held it near the bag. Whoosh! That made 2. 5 to go. I ran through the rest of my list. The easiest one was cat act. When I first thought of it, I was sure I wasn't going to find anything, but Dad had taken me to the circus last year and bought me a souvenir program. There's a picture of the lion tamer. That was definitely a cat act. I tore the page out of the program and let it get sucked into the bag. In the fruit basket, I found a cheap peach. The price sticker was still on it. Swoosh! I figured that was it for the fruit ball. Then my eyes fell on something else. Mom had bought some tangerines, and according to the sticker, they were from Argentina. Wow, I said out loud as the letters clicked together in my head. An Argentine tangerine. I had to admit, I was really proud of that one. And that made 5, just 2 to go. I was on an anagram roll, and I knew exactly where I'd get the last 2. I went to the freezer, pulled out a bag of French fries. Mom always bought the same brand. Tater treats. Not quite an anagram if you use the whole bag. There was an extra S, but Just one, and you had a tater treat. Perfect. I pulled one out of the stiff frozen pieces of potato and fed it to the bag. Swoosh. Then I went to my room. I had lots of old plastic toy animals, including a couple of horses. I dug through the box in my closet, looking for the right one. There was this book about a horse that lived near the ocean. Misty of Chincoteague. I had a model of her. Since she lived by the seashore, that made her a shore horse. Hey, I'll see you, Misty, I told her as I held her over the top of the bag. I'm a bit saddled to see you go, but Mom's been nagging me to get rid of my old stuff anyhow. Swoosh. Made it. 7 anagrams. This sure had been easier than oxymorons. Or maybe I was just getting better at it. At least I didn't spend the next day in school all distracted because my mind was dancing through the dictionary, but I still had tried not to talk in class. What do you think, Logan? Mr. Vernack asked me a couple of times during the day, and I just shrugged. I wasn't going to take a chance that puns were going to get me into more trouble. Benedict ignored me. I realized he was angry, but I hoped he would get over it. Miss Glott, the student teacher, started to tell us how much she liked words. Does anyone know what an oxymoron is? She asked. My hand shot up, and I yanked it back as quickly as I could. No way I was opening my mouth. She looked at me for a moment. Did you raise your hand? She asked. I shook my head and tried to look confused. I know, Benedict said. He smirked at me and gave the definition, the same one I told him just the other day. He even mentioned the part about it being Greek. That was fine. He needed to show off. I wasn't going to stop him. Impressive, Mr. Vernick said. Very impressive. He almost never repeated himself. I could see he was suddenly thinking about Benedict as perfect student of the month material. Maybe Benedict would finally win that pizza he wanted so badly. Miss Glott went on to tell the class about oxymorons and anagrams and a couple of other things. The coolest one was redundancies. Those were words you didn't need, like when people talked about a free gift. Since it was a gift, it's always free. You don't need the extra word. Another redundancy was an unexpected surprise. Well, a surprise is always unexpected. Also, pre-recorded. Anything that's been recorded has obviously been pre-recorded. She pointed out that pre and previous were often redundant. I hope my next class was redundancies because now I'd have a head start or a pre-start. Then Miss Glott told us some of her favorite words, including serendipity. That was what you call it when you find something you aren't looking for. Kind of like being at the right place at the right time. I thought about the Argentine tangerine. Talk about serendipity. Of course, right now I couldn't talk about anything. After class, I went across to the town to the library. What if he's not there? I wondered as I hurried downstairs to the reference section. Was there a word for when you don't find the thing you're desperately looking for? Nearsipity? Dippincerity? But he was right at the table. 7 anagrams, I said as I handed him the bag. He bounced the bag up and down in his palm for a second as if he was weighing it, and then he nodded and said, Very good. What's next? I asked. Redundancies? No, nothing that easy. He reached into his shirt pocket, pulled out a handful of rubber bands, and dropped them on the table. They lay there looking like exhausted worms. 7 palindromes, he said. What's a... I caught myself as I picked up the rubber band. That should be a snap. I grinned and then groaned as I realized I was even making puns in my mind now. I headed for the dictionary and looked up palindromes. It turned out they were very cool. But the more I thought about them, the more I realized they might not be that easy.